Welcome back to Unleashed, Unfiltered, and Unapologetically Human with me, Julie. On today's episode, we're just going to be talking about am I healing or just avoiding? Now, mind you, I have PTSD, depression, anxiety, all the works. I have been dealing with this for a very long time. And honestly, for the first few years, I've been avoiding it because of the fact that it is very difficult to go through that journey and try to heal from things because you essentially have to go through all of the emotions again, but in a more healthier way. So, just to start, I want to warn you guys this may be triggering to some. Definitely click out of the podcast if it is triggering you. I completely understand. Like this is my story and I understand that it may be triggering to some. I'm honestly just kind of talking about it, not only for myself, because I haven't talked too much detail about everything that I've gone through, but as well as just to bring awareness that you are not alone, that you may think that you're the only person that has gone through some stuff, but trust me, there are a lot of people that have gone through almost the same situations that you have, and you are not alone. And it is a journey, it is not something that you just get over like one day after the other. It Trust me, it will get better with time and putting a lot of effort into it, to be honest. So let's get started. So to start, I kind of want to go all the way back to when I was young. I was unfortunately molested by my own father. He I don't remember much only because my own mind kind of blocked out a lot, but my parents went to court with him for I think a few years, and I actually had to do some visitation with him. And for me, that was a little traumatizing only because of the fact that I knew all the stuff that he did, and I just didn't understand why I had to visit him. I mean, the visitation, it was monitored. There was another person there, so I wasn't alone with him. But I realize now as an adult, because at that time I'm a child and my donor, whatever, I'm not going to even say that he's my father because no father would ever do that to their kid, but he would buy me stuff and he would bring them to the visitations, and like as a kid I'm just like, oh my god, like, this is awesome, I'm getting presents and stuff like that. But as I grew older, I realized that he was essentially trying to buy my my acceptance with him. And so he was trying to be like, here's toys, here's this, so that you forget about everything. And like, the judge basically can be like, oh yeah, it never happened type thing. And I I didn't realize that until I became more like a teenager and adult looking back at those visitations. And it was very unfortunate to think that people actually bought into that. And luckily my mother, my stepmom, they got full custody of me. But he also has molested other of his kids. I have other half siblings, which is crazy. I think the last time my mom told me, I think I have six other half siblings. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember too much. But and he's done it to I think another one of his girls, and it's honestly very saddening to think that there are other kids out there that are having to deal with his bullshit for someone that's so fucking disgusting. And it sucks that the justice system doesn't really do anything because of the fact that it's kind of like a he said she said, unfortunately. So, and it's also very sad because I did recently find out as well that my I guess you could say my Mexican side of the family honestly thought that it was a whole lie, that I was told to say all this stuff. And I'm just like, that is mind blowing to me. And I just because of the fact that they want to talk trash about like my stepmom or whatever. And honestly, it was very disheartening hearing that, because I that is something that you don't really joke about. Mind you, I was like 3 years old when this happened. And it's very sad to know that there are family, some of my family, that have thought that. And they also like still talk to him. And when I heard that, it was kind of like a big slap in the face, because I was just like, so basically, you're trying to tell me that it didn't happen, and whatever trauma you went through, it wasn't real. And so when I found that out, honestly, at first I was just like, whatever, it's fine. Like, it is what it is. Like, they weren't there. They didn't have to experience any of that. But then I also realized that honestly, my family has so much shit that they like to hide, but they like to judge other people on. And it sucks, because I'm just like, we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. And for you to even judge anybody's situation, like, it's horrible. And I know there are so many other people that have um family like that as well. And like, honestly, like, you're not you're not a perfect human being. Nobody is. And it sucks to have to know that, to be honest. And it was very sad. And so I I kind of distanced myself with a lot of my family, only because of the fact that like it's disheartening to hear that. And so other than that, I also did find out that he, yeah, like I said, he has molested other of his kids. And fortunately, he has never gotten in trouble. He's never like gone to jail for it. He's still out there. He's still doing his own thing. And so that's one trauma and that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that when you are molested at an early age, you are exposed to basically the adult sex world. Like, you are exposed early on to those feelings. And I didn't realize that until later on, because again, I when during high school, as well as I'm in college right now learning psychology and stuff, that going through that at such an early age, you are exposed to the sex world, I guess you could say, at an early age. And so a lot of people that have been molested have a very hyper sex drive. And it fucking sucks. Like, it's something that I've kind of struggled with for a long time, of having that hyper sex drive. And I never knew that it was because of the trauma that I had when I was younger and being exposed to it at such an early age. And so it's not only that, it's also the mentality that the only thing I'm good for is sex when it comes to relationship. Like, that's the only thing I'm good for, because honestly, like, that's what my father used me for. Is he was like, he would touch me and stuff, like, so to have somebody that was supposed to care for you and love you to do that to you, you just feel like as you get older that that's the only thing that you're good for. And unfortunately, in this day and age, a lot of men kind of treat women like that too. And I'm not saying all men. There are some good men, there are some good women out there, but for the majority, that's how they treat women. That's how they treat other men, whatever the case is. And I grew up feeling like that's all I was good for. And so the men, women that I ended up falling for, that's how they kind of used me for. And, that also created a lot of body issues with myself. I felt very self-conscious about my weight, my how like I looked, I was a very self-conscious person, as well as the fact that I was always wearing like bigger clothes, always basically hiding my body. And I it wasn't until I got into this, and it didn't start showing more of like my self-consciousness until I got into a relationship. I think I just turned 19. I moved in with my boyfriend at the time, and he made things worse. He was a narcissist. He wasn't a great person, but he also had a lot of trauma that he's never dealt with himself. And so with having him have issues like that, he kind of projected that on me. And so essentially he would make comments about my weight. He'd be like, "Well, I'm not going to have sex with you until you lose weight." So I was working out. I was almost kind of starving myself. Like I did lose a lot of weight. Like I look back at pictures of back then, and I was getting skinny. And it wasn't like skinny like, "Ooh, like you look good." Like it was skinny like I looked sick. And it was something that I didn't realize at the time because I was being manipulated. I, at that time, I was defending him because I thought, like, he loves me. Like, when you're in that situation, you don't realize, like, the red flags at that time. I might had like a little inkling and like, deep down, but I wasn't listening to it because I'm like, he loves me. Like, he's my boyfriend. He wouldn't do that, type of thing. And unfortunately, like he ended up cheating. He was with somebody else and didn't tell me about it. And we lived together for like 3 years basically. And this is another part of my trauma as well as PTSD. I got my PTSD from him. He We were very toxic for each other. I've always been growing up, I was really bad at communication. I always shut down completely. I wouldn't say anything no matter how many times like I would be told like just talk to me, whatever the case was, like I would shut down. That was my coping mechanism. And so me and him we were toxic for each other. I had a lot of things like I wasn't speaking with my parents at the time. I was just going through a lot at that time period. And he he did a lot of things that were not okay. He made me feel like shit, and as well as just me, you know, trying to lose weight because trying to please him, even though like I was hating every fucking minute of it. I wasn't enjoying my life. I was miserable half the time, and I was trying to convince myself that I was happy. That, this is normal, like this is a normal relationship, whatever, like you go through your ups and downs. But I didn't have that role model relationship of this is how somebody should be talking to you. This is how somebody should be treating you. Like I never had that role model. I always had that you see that relationship, don't do that. Like I had, you know, not role models, but people in my life that had terrible relationships, abusive, mentally abusive, physically, like all of those things in my life, but I was just told don't do that. Don't put up with that. But it was just like I never got that, this is how a relationship is supposed to be. This is how you're supposed to be treated. This is how, they're supposed to talk to you. This is, I never really got that. And so when I got into this relationship, this was all new to me. This was like my first real relationship. Um, and, moving in together and stuff, like we got our own apartment together and I thought everything would be okay. And then the person that he cheated on with reached out to me And I was honestly very angry because I had a feeling that it was happening, but I didn't want to believe it because I was like, no, like it's not true. Like he wouldn't do that to me. Like we promised each other that, cuz in a short period we did break up, but we told each other like because we were still living with each other that like if we fell for somebody else or whatever, we would tell each other so that we wouldn't do anything. Well, he didn't do that. He was in a relationship within like a week and I wasn't aware of it, and I found out by her telling me. And I actually went to, I think we went to dinner or something, and we hung out to like talk about shit that he said to us, what he said to me, back and forth of, trying to connect the pieces of everything that he was telling us. And he, I was gonna try to like just be like subtle hints of like, I know that it happened, but I think I had so much anger because I'm like, I love you, and I thought that you loved me enough to like tell me things that happened, and unfortunately, I could not wait it out. And when we were in bed together, I finally said, "So you cheated on me with this and that, this person," and I remember feeling his body go frozen. And what I got from his response was, okay, now what? And I was like, excuse me? He's like, well, there's nothing I can say because you're just going to believe her. And I'm just like, oh my God, you've been caught. Like, come on. And there was signs the whole time. I was just very oblivious and just hoping that it wasn't true. And I remember just us arguing back and forth and I ended up leaving because he had to go to work in the morning or something. So he went to work and I went to my aunt's house and I was like crying my eyes out, like I was pissed. And when he got home, I wasn't there. My uncle drove me home and my uncle actually told him like get the fuck out. Like get out. Get your shit and get out. Because I was very devastated. And I'm like, how could you do that to me? And you lied to me and you were saying that, oh, you love me and you want to start like, our future together and stuff like that, and then you lie to me like that. So he left. And unfortunately, I he called me a few times and he's like, I'm sorry, and he's bawling his eyes out. Mind you, I he's never really cried that much, and so I gave in. And I think after maybe like a week or two, I let him come back. And when he came back, I told him, I was just like, I don't trust you at all. Like there's no trust there. Like I don't trust you to hang out with, other people. Like unfortunately that trust has like been obliterated. And so he's like, I understand. And I'm like, you have to work in order to like really prove to me that, you're not going to do this shit again. And so, a couple months go by, and I think we dress up a little bit because we go to dinner with his mom. And I, he had a really rough relationship with his parents. He had a lot of trauma from his parents, and that's what caused him to be how he was, to be honest. So we go to dinner with his mom, and then um, we go to the park because we used to go to the park all the time, and we just hang out, we talk, and everything. And he's like, I would want to be with you for the rest of my life. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? And he proposes. I was very shocked because I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? And at that time, I was just like, um, I was, stupid. And I said yes. And, he proposed to me, and, you know, I was ecstatic at that time. But mind you, I didn't have social media. He convinced me, or more manipulated me, that, social media is really bad for you, that you need to stop being on social media. It's very toxic, the government this, government that. Like, he basically made me very paranoid to the point where I was just like, okay, fine. I'm gonna delete all my social medias. So I did. And then our fights started getting worse. It started getting to the point where he was just like, oh, I don't know, like, if when I'm not home, like, you're doing other stuff. And mind you, I was working from home. I was basically the housewife. Like, I cleaned up the house. I would make him dinner, lunch, whatever. I would deal with our bills. Like, I did everything. And my mind wasn't on other people. Like, I was fully dedicated to this man. And I didn't realize that he was projecting a lot of the time. And so I'm super depressed because I'm not only trying to work out, I'm also trying to clean the house. I'm working. I'm making sure our bills are paid. I'm making sure that, he has food to take to work. Like, I'm doing all these things, and I didn't feel as appreciated for doing all these things. And so it just felt like I'm putting my whole soul into this person, and I'm not getting anything like being appreciated. I'm not like, it basically felt like he proposed to me to lock me down, and so I wouldn't leave him. And then it started to get to the point where I would ask him, like, hey, like, when do you want to start planning, like, our wedding, like, us getting married? Like, I never thought I would ever get married. And at that time I was just like, oh, like, when do you want to start planning? He's like, I don't think we're ready yet. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't think we're ready. And I'm like, then why did you propose to me if you didn't think we're ready to get married? Like, that's the whole point of proposing to somebody. And his response was that, like, oh, like, it's going to take some time. Like, we still have a lot of stuff to get through. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. But you don't want to even plan anything. You like, not even like we have to set a date yet. Just like, colors, like stuff like that. And he didn't want to. So I ended up kind of putting getting married to the side. And we there unfortunately, I actually ended up, I stopped taking the pill, and I ended up getting pregnant. And it was hard because I was excited because, one, I always wanted to have a kid, but I was also terrified because, one, I didn't have a relationship with my mom. So I didn't have anybody to really go to be like, what do I do? Like, what is the next step and stuff like that. So I found out I was pregnant, and I think a couple months into the pregnancy, I actually lost a baby. During that whole time, he was telling me, like, oh, you need to start working out, you need to start eating, this, that. And I was trying my hardest. Like, I was still trying to lose weight while being pregnant, and I was just like, ugh, okay. Well, one day I ended up losing the baby. I was bleeding so much. I didn't understand what was going on. I had so much pain, and I lost the baby. And I was devastated, but he was just like, honestly, this is your fault. Like, you should have lost weight beforehand, like, all of this stuff. And, like, it always came back to my weight. Always. And I was just like, oh my God, like, stop. Like, I'm so stressed out all the fucking time. And for you to even blame me for losing the baby, like, And I never even blamed him for it at that time. I was just like at that time, I was just like, I'm sorry, like, that wasn't, I was trying my hardest. And so maybe a month or two goes by, and we're having a conversation about the cats that we had. Mind you, I adopted a cat that she was about a week old. Like, she was still about a baby. And I'm a vet tech. And so I was taking care of her, and we were talking about, like, he was telling me that, hey, I want, like, the cats, once they get older, like, they have to go outside. And I'm like, no. Why? Like, this cat has never been outside. She's never known the outside. She's not feral. Like, she can stay inside. And she was honestly my little baby. Like, she was super attached to me. Love this kid. And we had, somehow this argument turned into me not doing anything, me coming home, making food, going to bed, like, basically saying I'm lazy as fuck, even though I was cleaning the house. I was cooking for us because he didn't know how to cook. I was, making sure our bills were paid. I was still doing all of these things. But yeah, he was saying that I wasn't doing enough. And so, and he even told me that I would be treated like a piece of meat if I ever went with anybody else. So my response to him was, I gave him my ring back, and I said, okay, then here's the ring. And he didn't say a word to me. Like, I was bawling my eyes out because I'm like, how could you say that to someone that you supposedly say that you love? And I I called, I texted my aunt, and I told her, like, hey, can you come pick me up? I, all of these things. And so she came and she picked me up, and I got my cat that I adopted and everything. I got her, I got as much as I could, and I walked out that door. And before I left, he's like, where the fuck are you going? And I'm like, it's none of your business anymore. And I walked out. And he was like texting me nonstop, and I was just bawling my eyes out because I'm like, I gave so much to this person, and realizing that, like, I gave so much. I tried so hard in the relationship, but it didn't mean anything. I still wasn't enough. I literally gave my whole body, my whole soul to this person. And I thought I was in love with this man. But he kept nonstop texting me, calling me, and I was just like, I'm done. Like, I'm over this. I'm like, you need to get help. You need to somehow heal from all the stuff that you've been through, because you're just projecting it on me, and it's not fucking healthy. Like, our relationship was amazing as friends, but once we got into a relationship, it went bad. And so I left, and then I brought some friends with me, and we went to go pick up the rest of my stuff. And I guess that was the realization for him that, oh, I'm not coming back. And he tried to talk to me. He's like, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, no. And I even told my best friends, as well as my cousin that came with me, and I told him, like, don't let me be alone with him, because I knew that he would try to manipulate me and me coming back to him. And my cousin, she's a fucking badass. I love her. She told him, she's like, you had a lot of time to talk to her about things, but you fucked it up. Like, this is it. So I got all my stuff, and I left. And I I got my social media back. I dyed my hair. Like, I did all the things. And I he called me a few times, and I finally pick up the phone, and he's like, "Why are you going to leave me?" And I'm like, "I told you why. You disrespect me all the time. You don't give a shit about me. I'm giving you all as a person, and I'm still not enough for you." And I'm like, I gotta go. And he was bawling his eyes out at this point, but I was just like, I can't do this. I can't keep putting myself in a situation and hurting myself even more, because at that point I had so much depression, I had so much anxiety. Like, I had so much anxiety to the point where, like, if I stopped hanging out with friends, I stopped talking to friends, because when I would go out, he would get upset, because he'd be like, "Oh, you guys had so much fun, whatever, like, whatever." Like, he would get upset about it. And I'm like, you can have friends. You can't have friends that are girls, because I don't trust you. But, you can have guy friends. You can go hang out if you want. I'm not preventing you from doing that. So I hung up the phone that day, and I was like, I gotta go. I can't do this right now. And I'm like, maybe down the road we can be friends again, but right now it's not healthy, and we need to be apart. And later that so the next day, mind you, we both worked at the same place. We I went to work, and he wasn't there yet, which was weird, because he was always on time, no matter what. And so I was like, okay, whatever, like, I'm not gonna think about it, I'm just gonna try to do work. And then I got a call from the police, and they're like, "Hey, have you seen him?" And I'm like, or have you seen him, or do you have his mom's number? And I was like, yeah, I do. How did you get my number? And she was like, well, there was a previous report, and your information was on there. And I'm like, is everything okay? Like, what's going on? And they're like, well, we have to talk to his mom first. And then, you know, I'm like, okay. So I get another call about like 30 minutes later. He's still not at work. And I get a call. I go to the conference room, and I find out that he shot himself. He went to the park that we used to go to, and I should have known, because that morning he texted me and he said, "I love you and I'm sorry." And that was the last thing he ever said to me. And when I found out, I literally fell to my knees. Like, when you see like movies, and like hear that devastating new like information, it looks so dramatic, but when you actually experience something like that, your whole body's just like can't can't register. And I literally fell to my knees, and I was bawling my eyes out, because I was just like, I spoke to him not even like 24 hours ago. And he was gone. I I couldn't drive home. My coworker had to drive me home. And it was so devastating to hear that, because at one point I did love this man with everything I had, and for him to be just gone, it was hard. It was very difficult to hear those news. And since then, I I avoided kind of going through the healing process of everything because having to relive those emotions, and as well as the fact that like I felt like it was my fault. And his father like even told me like, why didn't you do this, whatever the case is. But mind you, his dad lived in Washington, and he tried to like my he did try to reach out to his dad and talk to him about stuff that happened as a kid that affected him, and he just laughed in his face and hung up. And so like his dad wasn't a great person either. And so of course he tried to blame me for it, and I'm like, it is not my fault. I tried so hard to help him get through things that you did to him, but you don't have any balls to even acknowledge that you fucked him up as a young kid, and you didn't even want to apologize or being sincere about things that you did to him. And so you're not going to blame me for all his trauma because you're the one at fault and you have to live with it. I have not spoken to his family since the funeral, and I honestly I tried avoiding the feelings. I tried avoiding the grief. I cried many nights. I drank. I smoked. I tried to distract my mind so much because I just couldn't deal with it. I ended up having I was diagnosed with PTSD from it, and I I didn't want to go on meds for a long time because I didn't like how they made me feel, but I ended up going back on antidepressants and meds and stuff like that to try to help me go through it. And I ended up getting into relationships when I shouldn't have, only because I was trying to distract myself. I was trying to distract myself from all the pain and the hurt that I felt, the anger. And, I'm still going through it. There are days when I have like triggers of like either songs or scents or something like that. And, but it's not as heightened as it used to be. I have definitely gone through a lot of shit. Got into a relationship when I shouldn't have. And right now as a person, I am really happy to have my partner that I do have now. She has helped me heal in a lot of different ways. I'm able to really I've gone through like group therapies, and which has been amazing. And being able to understand things better. There are days that I feel like I'm like, maybe it was my fault. Like but he chose what he chose. I tried my best in that relationship, but it didn't work. And I know that I can't save everyone. I can't save people from everything that they've gone through. I can be supportive and try to help them, but I can't save everyone, and I need to put myself first, and I need to save me. I know that sounds kind of selfish, but you have to think about it this way of I've put myself last above everything. I've tried to help other people so much that I've lost myself. I wasn't taking care of myself. I didn't care anymore. I was just like I can't. I didn't even want to I didn't want to be here. Unfortunately, I've tried to commit a few times, and because the overwhelming feeling of hatred, sadness of everything that's happened in my life. I It's just so difficult to have to deal with and just feel like I'm alone and feel like no one's going to understand. And I am very proud of myself and where I am at now. I'm putting myself through school to go into a career to I'm still going to help people because I still love helping people, but being able to have that education behind me, and I do want to focus on mental health and, suicide, people that have tried to commit suicide, helping people through that, because honestly, you're not alone in this huge world that we're in. And to have somebody there to support you and to help you through things is the biggest thing that I wish I did. Because, and I also learned that, again, you can't have people try to understand you or try to understand how you're feeling, what you went through. Like, they're never going to fully understand. That's never, like, they can't understand it to the fullest until they've actually gone through it. And mind you, I will never wish any of that on somebody else, because it is a constant battle that forever sticks with you. Like, I have people that I know that have experienced, someone that they loved or whatever that have passed, and it's been 10, 15 years and they're still feeling that huge weight of emotions, even 10, 15 years. And it is something that stays with you basically for the rest of your life. It may not be as heightened as the first few years, but it sticks with you. And being able to learn coping mechanisms and being able to learn your triggers. And that's another thing that, over the past few years, I've learned different triggers. I've been trying to be more in tune with my own body, my own feelings, and being able to be like, what you said, it triggered me because of this. Being able to learn myself has been very beneficial, and as well as helped me with how to heal in that in those situations. And I I'm honestly very proud of where I am at in my life. I've acknowledged that I am not a perfect person. I have gone through a lot of shit, and I would never wish that upon anybody else. But, I am in school. I have a career. I'm a vet tech assistant, and, I help animals every day. And I'm shifting to a different career in my life, something that I've always wanted to do, but I was always so scared and thinking that I couldn't do it. And, my circle as a 24-year-old, and mind you, it is something that is actually very common in this day of age, that, you lose people, and you lose friends, you start separating, you have your own life and stuff. But I've created a circle that is very, we're trying to build each other up. And, I've had so many hard days, and I just felt like, I'm like, why am I even here? What is the purpose of me being here and me going through so much shit? And, they're always telling me, like, what, you've gone this far, you've worked this hard on everything that you've ever had. You have this career, you're going to school, you help people whenever they're having really bad days, and to the point where, like, they're also very depressed, and to the point where they're possibly suicidal. And I've definitely helped people get out of that, because I can relate. I've been there. And so I just kind of want to give that awareness of like, you are not alone in this world. There are other people that have gone through the same things as you. And, but then again, everyone, their emotions, the way they react to things are completely different. But I want people to know that you're not alone. And honestly, going to group therapies have helped me so much. And I'm not saying it'll help everyone, but reaching out to different, like, either therapy or friends or family or just people to be able to help you through those emotions, be able to, hold you when you're going through like such a bad day, because there are going to be days when you're fine, you're great, you're living your life, everything's fine. And then there's going to be days where you want to rot in bed and you don't want to do anything, you want to binge eat. Like, that's normal. But this is my story, and I am very lucky to still be alive and still kicking. And I am very excited for, this new chapter in life with, school, with, my partner that I have, and just living my life the way I want to live it and not how people want to live it. There's always going to be people that want to have a say in your story, but they don't know your story, only you. And they're never going to fully understand it, and that's okay. You just keep doing you, and that's all that matters. Because one, they don't pay for your bills. They don't pay for your mental health, your therapy or stuff like that. Like, this is your life and you have to live it for you. No matter what you do, there's always going to be a hater, and that's okay. As long as you have those people that stick around and build you up as a person, that's all that matters. You build your own family, you build your own community of people that love you, that care about you, that no matter what happens in life will always, pop and be like, "Hey, how you doing, girl?" You know, that's all that matters. So, I know today's episode was a little long. I'm sorry that I kind of teared up a little bit here and there, but this is kind of my story, and I kind of want to just build awareness that you are not alone. You have people, there's resources, and it's going to get better with time. But you also have to start being in tune with your own body, your own mental health. But in time, it will get better. As much as that's a cliche of, you know, things that therapists say, it does get better with time. But thank you for listening to this podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for all the support within the last couple months with my podcast. And there's definitely going to be more to come. Always different episodes. I'm trying to get a lineup of different guests and stuff like that. But again, like, subscribe, comment, share, and honestly, just take care of yourself, because that is the biggest thing. I want you guys to take care of yourself and know that you are loved entirely for who you are, what you've built as a person, and just keep doing you. Again, thank you for listening to Unleashed, Unfiltered, and Unapologetically Human. Bye, guys.